There's this funny little thing that every person seems to pretend that they don't like until they're given the option to access it, called nostalgia. Although people seem to hate nostalgia pandering, the numbers don't lie. Nostalgia sells, and it sells good. And of course, everybody likes to indulge in the past moments that made them happy. I mean, I know I sure do. My favorite thing to do is listen to the amazing soundtrack of the Sonic DS games. Doesn't that just sound so good? Problem is, the further back you go into the past, the more difficult it becomes to play the game that you hold dear to you. I mean, just look at the Mario games on the NES, all above $100. That's not even including the console. So what do you do to scratch that itch? Well, there's emulation. There's plenty of websites out there that hold ROMs for anyone to download and play on their PC with the latest emulator available. The thing is, if you aren't careful on these sites, you could accidentally break your computer or lose your life savings. Very unlikely, but still possible. But what can you do? Well, there's these plug and play things that are your local Walmart. I guess that's something. But even I could only take so much from Spider-Man pointing at my dick while I play. I want to play real games, not this shovelware stuff. Nintendo, if you can hear us, please, Nintendo, please save us. In 2016, Nintendo released the NES Classic Mini. No crazy setups or sketchy downloads needed for this bad boy. Grandma's computer was safe. All you had to do was plug it in and play. Finally, we could relive that nostalgia we all crave. All 30 NES games were included too. Wait, that can't be right. Only 30 games? Are you fucking kidding me? Where's my favorite NES game, Yoshi? Yeah, so out of the whopping 1,000 game library the NES held, only a select 30 made it onto the console. That's about 3% of the library that made it in. Sure, out of the games that made it in, most of them, their inclusion makes sense, but did we really need Pac-Man on it? You can play that anywhere. I'm pretty sure I could even play that on fridges nowadays. Also, 30 games? Really? That's all we can manage? Yeah, I know it's called the NES Mini, but is it called Mini because of the size or the storage on this thing? Each game is roughly 8 kilobytes, so the entire library would probably be less than a gigabyte. The thing is though, most people weren't really buying this console because of what it was at a surface value. A 30-year-old console. People bought this because of the nostalgia it offered, and Nintendo knew the perfect way to pander to that, including a menu that is built like an NES game, the instruction manuals for all your favorite games, even a CRT filter so that you can play your favorite NES games like God intended. Wow, what a time to be alive. I can't wait to get my own. This sounds amazing. And all for the low price of $500. What originally went for $60 rose to insane prices like $500 on eBay, thanks to the nicest people you can find in any community. Scalpers. Just ask the Pokemon trading card community. They seem to love them. No matter what Nintendo and stores did, they could not find a way to keep these things in stock. Like I said before, nostalgia sells and it sells well. Even though it had problems, it still sold really well. One of the main issues people seem to have was how short the cable seemed to be. Stretching at only 2.5 feet, the cable forced many to sit right in front of their TV to be able to play their games. While I think the cable is perfectly and reasonably long, I mean some people will even tell me it's average, I can see how it could get annoying, especially since we hadn't had a wired controller since the GameCube in 2001. Hey, but anything for that sweet nostalgia, even if it's really inconvenient. Speaking of inconvenience, if you wanted to switch games, you had to do it the good old-fashioned way and get up your ass and hit the reset button. Despite all of this, the console was considered a massive success and was all the rage during the holiday season of 2016. But of course, because nostalgia is one hell of a drug, Nintendo doubled down with the SNES Classic Mini. In 2017, the SNES Classic Mini was released to the public. Included in the box were 2 SNES controllers, an HDMI cable, and a whopping 21 games. Wait, we went down? Yeah, although the games included were the must-have games for the original SNES, it feels weird to have such an odd number of games. They couldn't pick 9 more to include in it to bundle a 30-game package like the NES. Also included in these 21 games was Star Fox 2, a never-before-released SNES game, which, believe it or not, to this day is the latest game the franchise has released. Despite the small library, the SNES Classic was even pricier at $80 retail. Of course, that didn't stop nostalgia from doing its thing, and it was a massive success, selling out instantly like its older brother. And once again, our favorite people made it even more expensive to purchase, going upwards of $200 just for a pre-order of the system. Well, was it worth the money? Most people were satisfied with the console as it fixed most of the problems people had with the NES, such as better controllers or longer cables now being 5 feet long. People were happy, and Nintendo was definitely happy with all the money they made. Quick question, what do you do if you're a really old gaming company and you see the success that Nintendo's having by re-releasing their nostalgia machines? Well, you subscribe to Founding Guy on YouTube, as it is still crazy how fast this channel grew from having only 100 subs a few months ago. Thank you all of you who subscribe, and I appreciate all of you for watching. Anyways, of course you release your own nostalgia machine. Introducing the Sega Genesis Mini, released in 2018 for $80. It included 2 controllers and 42 games, which is double of what Nintendo was offering with the rival console. This included major hits like the original Sonic trilogy. It had Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Wait, yeah, I mean, sure, the Genesis had more games than the SNES, but you also had Sonic Spinball, which I guess is a game. Although there were a few questionable choices, this was still really a solid lineup, and Sega did a good job of selecting these games. Unlike the PlayStation Classic, which released later that same year for a whopping $100, which included only 20 games. Out of those 20 games, some major hits were missing, and I mean major. The first game you would think to put on this console is not on the damn console. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were both missing, which in my opinion were the games that defined the console back then, so it was very clearly a miss. Sure, they had games like Final Fantasy VII, which sure, it's an amazing game, but that's available everywhere, even back when the PlayStation Classic released. Other games like Metal Gear Solid were a solid choice, but suffered due to the lack of an analog stick. Oh yeah, Sony wanted you to experience the PlayStation 1 as God intended with no analog sticks, so you better love that D-pad because that's all you have. Top of all of that, the emulation was terrible as Sony decided to cheap out. Included in the console was not their own internal Sony-made emulator that they used for emulation on the PS3, PSP, and the Vita. Instead, they decided to use an open source emulator called PCSX Rearmed, which is not automatically bad, but it was designed for lower powered devices, which required a lot of heavy tuning for each game. But Sony didn't tune it at all, so sure, the games ran, but for a product that costs $100, you'd expect the finest of tuning. Then the cherry on top. No matter where you buy your PlayStation Classic, it included the PAL versions of the game, which ran at 50Hz, not 60Hz, meaning slower animations with more input lag, and of course, for some reason, the music was pitched lower, so it sounded off. All in all, this was considered a massive failure, with many of them sitting on store shelves until it dropped in price. What was once sold for $100 was now being purchased for below $40, according to people on the internet. This really left a foul taste in people's mouth about classic mini consoles, which really showed when the next major mini console hit the market with the TurboGrafx 16 Mini in 2020. This console was priced at $100 and included 50 games, which sounds like a lot, but are any of these specifically someone's favorite game? Emulation was great and it was pretty faithful to the original games, but not to be fucked up. Did anyone ask for this? Although this console did everything right and was a good product for the 3 fans of the TurboGrafx 16, it unfortunately was too niche and it didn't hit crazy numbers. Mini consoles were starting to become a trend and more mini consoles started appearing. You had the Neo Geo Mini, Commodore 64 Mini, and many Atari flashbacks, but once again, anyone ask for any of these? And on top of all that, people were starting to lose interest in the mini consoles as quite frankly, they were unnecessary thanks to digital stores. Most of the games mentioned before are all available in digital stores such as PlayStation Store, Nintendo Online Classics, which even includes Star Fox 2, which was one of the main selling points of the console. At the same time, what was the point of purchasing these consoles to emulate if the emulation sucked? Or even worse, your favorite game wasn't on it? Mini consoles as a trend were basically over and people lost interest in them. People just moved on. And sure, if there's another big name that makes another console like a Nintendo 64 Mini or a PS2 Classic comes out, people will flock to it and it will sell out in seconds. But will that ever happen? No. Or at least it's very unlikely, as these type of consoles are just harder to make into a plug and play thing. The type of games they have require more storage and power to run. Plus, licensing would probably be a nightmare, as many of the games that the PS2 is known for are third parties or have different music rights that need to be licensed. For example, Kingdom Hearts, a heavy hitter for the PS2, would have to have the okay from Disney as they own the game, and they would need to talk to the people that own Tarzan because Disney no longer owns that. Then you talk to Square for them to okay the deal, and last but not least, the music, which needs to have the iconic tracks the series is known for, like Simple and Clean. All of this for just one game, which we haven't even mentioned the storage problem, but you get the picture. A new mini console would just be way too much effort that, quite frankly, isn't worth it when most of the PS2 games are all available elsewhere. So a PS2 Classic is out of the question, and then the Nintendo 64 is already having most of its games released through Nintendo Switch Online, so that seems unnecessary. The one console that might come out is the Dreamcast Classic, as the latest mini console that came out was the Sega Genesis Mini 2, which came out in 2022, and it included a really good amount of games. 60 of them. Still no Sonic 3 though, but that might have been because of something else and not Sega. Other than that, the fact that it came out in 2022 is the only reason that I say the Dreamcast Classic is the one mini console I think could happen. But then again, that was 4 years ago, so maybe not. What do you think? Do you think another mini console will come out and be successful? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and a sub so that I can keep making videos like this one.